Thank you to Ranking Member Luke DeMeyer and the committee for this important hearing. Real quick, a couple things. It's kind of been debated amongst the members about how 98% of the 31 million small businesses in our country are less than 100 employees. Obviously, that is true. But the other truth is that with the OSHA mandate, which is unconstitutional, by the way, this OSHA vaccine mandate being pushed by the administration would start at 100 employees. The administration's already signaled that they want to push it to all small businesses, not just stopping at those with 100. So let's be very clear for the record what the intention of Joe Biden and his presidency is. I actually want to thank the Fifth Circuit and the other courts that have struck down that mandate because it is unconstitutional. Congress never gave OSHA any authority whatsoever to tell employers what they must require employees to inject into their body. We have such a thing called HIPAA in the United States. It's surprising to me that we have forgotten our HIPAA laws, considering with the fact that we're largely dealing with COVID-19 in the best possible ways. Secondarily, I think it's also important to note that any president that has the authority to make you take an injection is, frankly, a totalitarian president, and that flies in the face of our Constitution, the way it is written, the way it was drafted, the way it was conceived, even the very framework of our nation. So it's unconstitutional. That thing's going to go away. Hopefully the courts continue to do that and the Supreme Court follows suit in short order. Real quick, Administrator Guzman, thanks so much for coming. Do appreciate you being here. You mentioned earlier you believe inflation is pandemic induced. Do you hold the view that it is purely pandemic induced? Can you explain that?
I am relying on our economists who are sharing with us that, and most agree that the pandemic is causing these supply chain disruptions globally.
Do you think it's that the pandemic is causing it, or do you believe that it is now work-related issues associated with massive social spending and also in conjunction with environmental policy in the state of California, which has made it harder for truckers to access the ports of Long Beach and Los Angeles?
The pandemic is underlying all of the inflation, yes.
Is there any reason why the social spending that, frankly, this Congress and this president started back in February, if we did not actually continue that social spending, do you think that we would have employees basically sitting at home or taking less hours?
What I'm hearing from small businesses, and I'm not sure what you're hearing in your district, but that their workers are staying out because of care issues, because of healthcare concerns, because there also was, you know.
So, quick question. So, when a local 7-Eleven down the street from my house has in the window that they want to give somebody a $500 signing bonus to come to work, that's because they're concerned about care issues, or is it because they're concerned about money, or is that there is now a bargaining chip from the federal government that gives them more money than actually going in and taking more hours at work? Which one is it?
What I was about to say as well is the final thing is, you know, what I heard recently when I was convening a group of resource partners at the Institute for Veterans and Military Families, that there's this great resignation as well, and people are shifting careers. So these are the more dominant factors that are affecting our workforce. And yes, they're in control in terms of you know, the opportunity that they have to demand higher wages.
Let me ask you this question, because I know you said earlier you support, obviously, the budget reconciliation package, Build Back Better, Build Back Broke. You know, everybody likes their little acronyms. So come on, this thing's building us back broke. You can acknowledge that, but I digress. Do you think that the social spending aspects of that bill will make it easier or harder for small business owners to find employees?
I think actually it'll make it easier, and there are key investments within the Build Back Better you know, framework that involve workforce development, apprenticeships,
and back,
as well as
administrator. I almost gave you a title increase. Administrator. Can we honestly have a conversation and sit here that if you do something like child tax credit, which will give people $300 per child, that's going to make it easier for them to go back to work? Or is it going to make it harder? Is it going to make an economic decision where they're going to make the choice of, you know what, maybe I don't need the additional 5 hours? If you cascade that through an economy across the 31 million small businesses in the United States, do you think it's going to be easier or harder for small businesses to staff their companies in order to be effective for their customers?
As President Biden says, we
all know President Biden doesn't know much about the economy.
We can't bet against the American people and workers who want to work, who want to have the protections that in place and the care for their elders or for their children.
Administrator Guzman, the President of the United States has never worked a day in his life outside of Washington, D.C. You've done more than he has. Come on now. You were a small business owner. If the federal government was providing outsized spending that competed directly with your ability to pay people to come to work, do you think it will make it harder for you as a small business owner, which you were, not an administrator now in the administration? Would it make it easier or harder for you to keep people under your employ?
Again, these investments in Build Back Better will strengthen our
And I would,
workforce.
if you excuse me,
Apologies.
the quorum is important in this committee. And
Madam
the
Chair, I was just
respecting
referring to the
of the
president.
United States is part of that.
Madam Chair, the President of the United States has never worked in our economy. Those are facts. That's not about decorum. That's the truth of the matter. He has
You
never
should
worked a
respect
day
the
in our economy.
institution.
He's always worked in Washington, D.C. To point out that fact and then to illustrate the fact that we're talking about major economic policies that do impact the 31 million small business owners in our country is not about decorum. I didn't trash the man.
Your
I'm saying I'm
time
speaking facts.
has expired.
I yield.
And now we recognize the gentle lady from Florida, Ms. Salazar.
Thank you to Chairman Velasquez and Ranking Member Luchtemeier for holding this necessary hearing. And I also want to thank you, Administrator Isabela Guzman, for being present and willing to answer our questions. Because unfortunately, Madam, your people, the SBA office in my district, just don't answer the phones. And I have consulted with other congressional offices, and the same thing. A small business owner is desperate, looking for a loan, and he just can't get through. Let me just give you an example. His name is Marquise McLemore. He lives in South Miami, and we finally reached a human being, not a machine. The SBA lady who answered the phone was unaccountable and unable to answer basic questions. And I know the situation very well, Madam Guzman, because in my district office, I created a division called the Prosperity Center to help my people achieve the American dream, and for us immigrants is to have their own business. And you know the SBA is instrumental for that Prosperity Center. There are other scenarios when an individual who has been able to start the process, thank God, but gets stuck in the middle of it. Because every time they call, there's a new person to talk to. They have to re-explain their problems. They have to re-upload the documents. You know, madam, SBS is not a MasterCard or a Visa to be bouncing people around. People have choice to get another credit card. But in this case, there is no other SBA for small business. And your agency can make it or break it for millions and millions of small business in America. Let me tell you so bad that my congressional office and my Prosperity Center has a hard time getting information from your agency. So just imagine if a congressional office can't get through, what about Rosa Lopez from Little Havana or John Rogers from Cutler Bay? Madam Guzman, I understand that you're responsible for this, and I also understand that this is uncomfortable, very uncomfortable for you for what I'm describing, but it's more painful to lose your business because of a bureaucrat. And I'm sure you agree with me. These are real people, and these are real life-changing problems. Let me just give you one more piece of information, and then maybe you can answer me. There are 2 million small business owners in South Florida. 2 million. There is one office that serves 2 million people. During the pandemic, as you've said, the SBA received $3 billion to hire more people and provide a better service. Now, let me ask you something. How many people have you hired in the last 10 months? How many of those in South Florida? How many new call centers, and how many of them are bilingual?
Thank you for that. We do value customer service experience, and that's been a priority of mine since I came in, which was what instigated our overhaul. And I think you're referencing mostly to the COVID EIDL program, where it has been very challenging to get answers. So we've
So you know that we have a problem with customer service.
We completely agree with you, and we are trying to fix it. And what we've done so far is we've 3 times the amount of customer service resources that we have available. We've switched vendors as well. And we've, of course, bilingual capacity is available within this network. We've also tried to increase in the field, and so we will take back your concerns about the Florida District Office in particular.
Thank you.
What we've also tried to increase the district connection to our platform. And previously, they did not.
I'm going to get back to you in 30 days, and I'm going to tell you if my Small Business Administration office in South Florida is working according to what you're telling me. Let me just give you one more concern. A month ago, and this is even worse, a month ago, the General Inspector, or Inspector General, I should say, the Inspector General found that women and minorities, you and me, women and minorities, are not getting their fair share of receiving small business government contracts. For me, that's lethal, because I promised this to my constituents through my Prosperity Center. and I have to deliver, madam. And the SBA has to help me because it's instrumental. My question is, how are you going to fix this? That we do get the fair share of what we need, women and minorities.
Thank you for the question. Yes, government contracting is a priority and equity across our programs. We want to make sure all of our small businesses access the federal government. And right now, we've seen over the past 10 years a decline of 40%.
Those are
of the number
stats.
of
What are
small
you going to
businesses.
do in order to, right now, under your administration, being able to, for women and minorities, to get more government contracts?
So we have a multi-pronged approach. The first is working collaboratively with White House and OMB on the policies, like category management and other policies, to make sure that businesses can access all contracts across the federal government. We've increased the budget for the president's request for an increase on the government contracting business development team's resources so that we can increase outreach and get more.
Can
of
you
these
give me in
women.
30 days a report of what have you done in South Florida in order to improve the access from these women and minorities?
We'd be happy to sit down with you and your team to go over specific initiatives that we can implement.
To help my constituents. Thank you, madam.
up the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up so I can make a better me. Better believe in your mind, cause it's everything. You can mold, shape, find almost anything. All it takes is some time and some clarity to find your identity. It's mind over everything. I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. Don't turning back. I won't stop, I'ma fight until there's nothing left. It's so on, you're gonna be hurting bad, cause I've been to hell and back. You don't wanna make me mad, I stay strong. You will never see me crack. And if you get in my way, you